Hey guys, today we're doing another Tactics Tuesday, going over queen endgames and queen and pawn endgames, and the two are related, queen endgames and pawn endgames, because a lot of times you'll have a queen endgame that translates into transfers into a pawn endgame. And we're going to see that a lot here with the tactics we're going over. So it's a good thing to have in mind that when you have a queen endgame, look at what happens after you trade your queens, because that's going to determine the rest of the game and whether or not you want to trade queens at all. So let's look at the first one here. See if you can see the move for this tactic. We've got pretty even material, except he's got double pawns here. We've got a queen on this file, blocking in his king, and our king's pretty open, but it looks like a good place for us to attack. Now, like I had said, let's look and see here what would happen if these queens were off the board. So if there's no queens here, black has a majority of pawns on this side, a pass pawn here, and he's got a king that can take out this pawn and have a pass pawn here. It looks pretty good. So in general, doesn't it make sense here that black would want to trade off these queens, because then he's got a strong attack with his pawns. White doesn't really have an attack. So to do that here, black can play this right here, checking the king and attacking the queen. Now white has no choice, because if he just moves his king away, then we take the queen. So he has no choice but to trade queens here, and then black's just better. After c5, black takes, and black's gonna win this game with correct play, because he can push these, he can take out this pawn and push that, and he's gonna get a queen. This can try to come down, but I mean, the king's gonna come and block that. He's got time here. So that's the first one there. Let's go to the second one. Alright, so we've got another situation here where we've got pretty even material, and the point of this one is that it's white's turn. That's huge. It looks like black was here and queen came up to protect, and it was just a bad move, because after this queen take, we've got a really good move. If you can see it, it is king f4. So our king is protecting these three spots, so this king has to move somewhere, because if this pawn moves, we just take and go on. So the king has to move. If the king were to move here, then we're going to go here and eat these pawns and pass. And if the king moves here, we're going to go here and eat these pawns and pass. And either side the king goes, the black king doesn't have a good opportunity to come and attack, because of, first of all, where our king's positioned, and our pawns are blocking these key squares. So the king to come through has to go a certain way to attack our pieces. Whereas we're already past this strong point here, and this strong point is pretty easy to pass. We can just go over it, and so we're in a much better position. So trading queens here is only good for white, because of this pawn endgame. Alright, let's look at this next one. This one's an interesting one. I like this one, because this isn't necessarily just an endgame thing. This is a good thing to learn, to know for general play. If you can see it, it's a double attack here. We've got queen g3. So what's this doing? It's threatening mate here, and it's threatening mate here. So two different mate threats at once. I mean, this isn't mate yet, but queen protects and then gets taken as mate. So the only move that black has to get out of this is king f8, and that way, if we take here, he just keeps moving on. And he can slip away this way. So what we're gonna do is queen b8 instead, and our pawn is stopping him from going here. So queen has to protect, and when queen protects, we are going to take, and take, and that's the kicker, because the king can't come here to try to stop our pawn, so we are going to get a passed pawn. There's no stopping that for black. Unfortunately for black, fortunately for us. Alrighty, let's look at this next one here. What do we got? See if you can find the solution here. So this one isn't like any of the others. This one is an actual checkmate threat, mate in 2. So queen d5 is the move, and black has 2 squares he can move to, neither of which are good. If he goes to g4, it's immediate checkmate, and if he goes to f6, it's also immediate checkmate with this nice little strike through checkmate. I can't remember what this is called, but it's beautiful checkmate. So this position right here in the endgame might not look like there's a good checkmate threat. It might look like we should start trying to attack these pawns or whatever, but keep your eyes open for checkmates. This is a really good combination here to watch out for. Alright, finally we have this one. And this one is a really good example of how you can turn queen endgame tactics into pawn endgame tactics. So it's looking ahead for after the queens are exchanged, how you're going to deal with the endgame with the pawns. So in this one, black does want to take, and king has to take back. And then now we're in a pawn endgame. So now you gotta be thinking like a pawn endgame here. And the correct move, I'm sure you see it, is g4. And g4 just wrecks white's position altogether. He's got no good moves. If he tries to come up, we take and we get a queen. If he takes, then we push and get a queen. And it really doesn't matter what white does. We are going to get that queen. And that will be the end of the game. So remember in queen endgames that they can always easily transfer into pawn endgames, and look out for checkmates whenever you can, because having queens on the board is always dangerous for both sides. So watch out to make sure your king is safe, and make sure you're not missing any easy or quick checkmates with your queen. And then look and see how it would look if you traded queens with your opponent. If you trade queens with your opponent and it looks like your opponent will have an edge in the pawn endgame, don't trade queens. Just try to avoid trading queens. Keep your queen on the board to try to make your pawn endgame better for yourself. And then if you look and see that a queen trade will end in you having a better pawn endgame than your opponent, then look for plans to trade your queen with your opponent. Look for different tactics to check the opponent's king while aiming at the opponent's queen, as long as your queen's protected, and try to trade off queens that way. Use a skewer for the queen with the king. Whatever you can do to try and trade off queens. Whatever you can do to make your life easier in the pawn endgame, or in the endgame in general, so you can win the game. Because remember, it's not all about fun checkmates. In the end, if you win, it's a win. However you win, it's a win. Alright, guys. So let me know what you think. Like, subscribe. Let me know what different ideas you have about queen endgames. Maybe something I missed. Thanks, guys.